Hello there. In this increasingly virtual time, I want to talk about 5 things you can do to check out a property that you might be interested in virtually without ever leaving your house. So the first thing is obviously Google Maps. So you can go and take a look at the property from every angle, from satellite, but also from the street view. And what I particularly like about Google Street View is that it shows you where the property is vis-a-vis things beside it. And I think it's very important where a property is on the road. I don't want it to be up at a traffic lights, which is a very busy environment and not a pleasant place to live. Ideally, it's not going to have a chip shop or a school right beside it. Ideally, there isn't a T-junction facing straight into the property. So there are lots of things you can find out by just looking at the property on Google Maps. Equally, you can find out that maybe the property is overlooking a lovely park. So you can find out the bad news and the good news. The second thing is that Google will also tell you how far it is from that property to wherever it is you need to go. So imagine you bought the property, it's 123 River Road, and you need to get yourself to Sandyford LUAS stop. You can type in 1234 River Road to Sandyford LUAS, and Google will tell you how quick it is to get there, walking or by bike or by car or however else. So that's a lovely service that Google offers. You don't have to physically be in a location in order to determine the distance from that location to another location. So that's the second thing. The third thing is I love to take a look at the property on Aircode. So I go to the aircode.ie site, I put in the property's address and I click on the View on Maps option, and that allows me to see a lovely clear outline of the plot of that property, and it'll show you the plot of the property in relation to other houses. So for example, for some clients, I've been looking at properties, I've looked at the plot of a property on Aircode and I realise, oh, this particular house has quite a bad garden vis-a-vis all the other gardens on the particular road. For example, all the other houses might be rectangular in shape and the property I'm looking at has a kind of a squashy rectangle or triangle of a garden. And so I think, well, I prefer to have a rectangular shape, and if I'm going to go ahead and buy this property for a client with a triangular shape, I know that that's not going to get as high a price as perhaps other properties with a better shaped garden. So Aircode Maps is a lovely way to look at to get a good feel for the plot size of your garden. The fourth thing is, not plot size, I should say plot shape of your garden. If you actually want to get an idea of the plot size, that brings us on to the fourth point, which is if, for example, you're thinking of developing a site and you'd like to perhaps get another property onto it, you can have a look at the property on a website called daftlogic.com, and by simply dropping a pin in each of the corners of the site of the property that you're interested in, it will give you the square meterage of that property or the square acreage of that property. And that's a useful thing to do. You can actually physically measure the plot on the site called daftlogic.com. You go onto it, you put in the address of the property and it'll come up on screen, and then you just drop a pin on each of the 4 corners. So that's the fourth thing. And finally, the fifth thing is you can phone, if you're in doubt as to whether that property is in a flood zone, you can phone an insurance company straight away. You don't have to wait, and ask them for a quote on that property, and they'll tell you whether they're prepared to offer you flood insurance on that property. You don't need to be the owner in order to get a quote. So there are 5 things you can do virtually to rule a property in or out, and in my experience it's as easy to rule a property out. It just means that now this is one less property for you to think about or be concerned with, and allows you to focus your energy on something else. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you for watching.